Todd Inman of the NTSB gave his third and final NTSB press briefing on scene at Louisville, Kentucky, and gave us some very important new information from the CVR recorder. My name's Juan Brown. You're watching the BLANCOLIRIO channel. Let's check it out.
I'm going to give you some specific information that we have that we've been able to come up with so far. The cockpit voice recorder contained 2 hours and 4 minutes of what we consider good quality digital recorded audio. In reviewing that audio, the crew completed their standard checklists and briefings in preparation for the flight. The takeoff roll was what we called uneventful through the different speed callouts. About 37 seconds after the crew called for takeoff thrust, a repeating bell was heard on the CVR, which persisted until the end of the recording 25 seconds later. During this time, the crew engaged in efforts to attempt to control the aircraft before the crash. The NTSB will now be forming a CVR group comprised of technical experts on the MD-11 at the NTSB headquarters in order to review the recording and produce a written transcript. Now, this CVR transcript will be made public only when a majority of the other factual reports are placed in the NTSB public docket for this accident, and that will be several months from now.
Here's what that persistent bell sounds like that he's referring to.
Engine 1, fire. Engine 1, fire.
The significance of the timing of the fire bell that Todd released in the NTSB briefing today is significant. 37 seconds after takeoff power was set. Now I'm going to show you this video of an MD-11 max gross weight takeoff out of Hong Kong to give you an idea of how far down the runway they were when this first indication of a problem was alerted to the crew.
Alright, before takeoff checklist is complete, clear for takeoff, 23 right is verified.
Heavy Tower, good evening, Cafe 402, 7.5 mile final, 23 left. Cafe 402, Heavy Tower, runway 23 left, wind count number 2. Clear to left, receive traffic, 1 mile final. Runway 23 left, clear to land number 2, Cafe 402. Cafe 402, QNH 1020. Copy, QNH 1020, Cafe 402. 235, cross runway 23 right via November 11, make it runway via
Engine 1, fire. Engine 1, fire.
37 seconds right after V1 rotate, and there's the end of the runway. The crew was doomed. Why? Because they were already beyond V1 takeoff decision speed and rotating the aircraft. Had this just been a run-of-the-mill engine fire, they would have been fine, but this wasn't. The engine separated from the aircraft, and in the process of separating from the aircraft, the number 2 engine began to compressor stall and also lost power. There is simply not enough room left on the runway to set the aircraft back down, and the aircraft has already accelerated to over 183 knots of ground speed, over 210 miles per hour. Todd also gave us some more important information about the engine pylon.
Additionally, in regard to the plane itself, the bulk of the left engine pylon was still attached to the left engine when the engine separated from the wing. Both of those components are in a secured facility and undergoing further examination. We have conducted additional searches in the grass area adjacent to runway 17R and are beginning to find additional pieces of the engine attachment. Additionally, later today, they will be doing another sweep using metal detectors and other types of apparatus. We have also completed a LiDAR scan of the topography, of the debris field, the airfield, and that is assisting us with a lot of other technical equipment that's been brought in for aerial recreation.
Todd went on to clarify some more information on this engine pylon mount, what he saw on the closed-circuit TV versus what we see in the wreckage of the photographs of the wreckage that we see today.
The question is in regard to the left engine being attached to the pylon. With the video evidence that we have and what we've been able to see, we know that that area needs to be an area of focus. By letting you know that the pylon is still attached, or let me clarify, the pylon was attached at the time that it disengaged from the aircraft. Now, subsequently, there could be damage that occurred upon its impact with the terrain. So I want to clarify that, because when we release pictures, it may not look like what someone would think that we said now. But that is significant to us because it lets us move the focus into other areas. It also allows us to do, in our laboratory in DC, we have metallurgical analysts, and we do a lot of very specific analyzation of that data. So we need to try to figure out, and I think the question yesterday is how much of the airplane we put back together. This is an area based upon the video evidence we have that we know we need to focus, but it won't be the sole focus. It's one aspect of it, but we need to actually try to do as much as we can to figure out that area, because we know we have some form of cause of issue or concern there.
So what Mr. Inman is saying is that on the closed-circuit TV video, they witnessed the engine and the pylon together separate from the wing of the aircraft, presumably from these two pylon attach points, or maybe three attach points up here on the wing. The engine did not separate from the pylon until it impacted the ground. And this will need to be confirmed. These grainy pictures taken the night of the accident, but it looks like the engine pylon is located right here. Again, that's that forward part of the nacelle, the leading edge of the nacelle, and the engine bounced further off to the right, separating from the pylon. And here we find the engine completely separated from all the cowling and the pylon. He also clarified in the press briefing that the FAA ADSB data of 475 feet corresponds to about 100 feet AGL, or above ground level, as seen in all the video evidence. The aircraft barely got off the ground by about 100 feet. Now, these engine pylon attach points are designed to shear in the event of an extreme condition with the engine, so as to separate the engine from the rest of the airframe without damaging the airframe. Now, this is the compressor section of the engine. This is the fan section up here that we saw wrapped up in the Kevlar blanket. Kevlar blanket is around the fan section. The combustion section, and then the turbine section back here, the hottest part of the engine. This part of the engine is basically always on fire. This part of the engine is also closely located in the swept-back wing of the MD-11 to the wing and these pylon mounts. Now let me back up a minute and talk about this Kevlar containment ring around the fan section, or blanket. It is designed to absorb the damage of a fan blade out event. And back when these engines were certified, they were designed to handle a single blade out event. If one of these fan blades at the front of the engine were to be liberated, this Kevlar containment ring would capture that blade and prevent it from leaving the engine or being an uncontained engine failure. This Kevlar containment ring is not designed to handle much more than that, the single blade failure. In this particular case, we had an engine failure that was so severe, so far out of vibration, or so much on fire that it separated completely from the wing. There is little or nothing that the Kevlar containment ring can do other than get wrapped around the fan section. Now, at the risk of introducing another previous historic aircraft accident and relating it to this accident, we need to look at this section here, the turbine section. Is this a gaping hole in the turbine section? Is this an indication of a disc failure in the turbine section of this engine? Is this possibly what caused this whole cascading of events? Back on October 28th of 2016, this American Airlines crew suffered an uncontained engine failure on their GE CF6 engine, the number 2 engine on this 767. Fortunately for them, this occurred early enough in the takeoff roll where they were able to reject the takeoff and get the aircraft safely stopped and everybody evacuated off of the aircraft before the fire continued to burn this wing and ultimately totaled this 767. It was a stage 2 turbine disc failure of this CF6 engine that caused this huge fire. Is this what happened to the UPS flight? Comparing that to this photograph of the UPS engine, is this what happened to the UPS flight? Here's a closer look at that American Airlines Stage 2 turbine disc failure. Uncontained engine failure right at nearly the hottest part of the engine. In the case of American's Flight 393, parts of the hot turbine disc penetrated the wing tank of the aircraft, starting a wing fire, and because of the extreme RPM of this turbine, parts of the turbine were found as far away as 2,935 feet, and explains why the NTSB is still looking for any engine parts that they can find from the UPS flight to this day. Again, for this crew, they got the warning early enough that they were able to reject the takeoff and get the aircraft stopped and get everybody evacuated off of the aircraft. And despite the efforts of the firefighters, there was still significant damage to the aircraft. So you can see if you ever took one of these sort of situations airborne, you wouldn't be airborne for very long. So while we anxiously await more information on this particular section of the number 1 engine on the UPS flight, the names of the crew members have been released, and our thoughts and prayers are with those families and all the families affected by this tragedy.